Yeah, it's from Associates. I've already sent you a mail. I don't know if you checked it out. We are an investment bank, and we are interested in learning more about sales scripter. So if you got some time, like 5 minutes, to schedule a very short call, it would be very good for us.
We're not looking at raising any money right now.
Okay. It might be beneficial for the future if you'd like to. We'd have you in our database, and you never know what happens in the near or long future. It's only a 5-minute call. We just introduce ourselves and get to know more about you, about your business.
Okay.
Is it possible?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna reply to the email thread. I'm gonna CC my scheduler. He'll help set up a call. Okay, is that fine?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael.
All right.
So right out of the gate, his introduction was basically, we're an investment banking firm and interested in learning more about Sales Scripter. Not bad. What I would say is have a little bit of value in this, share a little bit of value proposition on the front end. Keep in mind that everything you should be communicating on a cold call or anytime you're talking to a prospect is that you should be focusing on what's in it for me, meaning what's in it for the prospect. So it is actually good that the investment bank is interested in learning more about Sales Scripter, but tell me why that's good. Why is it good for Sales Scripter to have the investment bank know about us, learn about us, or help us? Tell me that, and you can tell me that in a value proposition, and I'll show you how to do that in the recommended cold call script. Then what he does is he goes for the close right out of the gate, and what I refer to this as is a quick close. So right at the beginning of the call, instead of doing anything else, you just go for the close, go for the appointment. And he does that by saying, if you have some time, like 5 minutes to schedule a short call, it would be very good for us. Now, if I'm going to be picky, this could be sort of lost in translation because he sounds like he's outside of the US. But when he says it would be very good for us, it almost sounds like it would be very good for him and his firm. And like I said, you should be communicating what's in it for the prospect. So you should be communicating what's in it for me. So a small tweak there is to change that to it would be very good for you. But again, maybe I just don't know what he means by that, but just some fine tuning right there. Then since he goes for the close real quick, he gets an objection from me real quick, which is we're not looking at raising any money right now. Now he actually responds to this in a really good way. So whenever you get an objection like we're not interested, or we're not making any changes, or we don't have any budget, or we're locked into a contract right now, your natural instinct is to try to overcome that objection. For example, if a prospect says we're not interested, you want to try to say something that makes them interested. And my recommendation is to resist that natural instinct. First of all, on a cold call, you don't have the time needed to change that person's mind. You don't have the time that it takes to make them from not interested to interested. And the reality is that you don't even need to do that, because on the cold call, your goal should not be to sell the product or to try to close for the purchase. Your goal should be to try to close for the next step of the process, which in most cases, it's simply talking more or setting an appointment. And that's exactly how he responds to this objection of we're not looking to raise any money, which is he says, well, we're just trying to schedule a quick call. It would be good to have you in our system. And I think this was a really good way. In fact, it helped him to close me on the appointment, which is kind of funny because I actually didn't want to meet with him. And I don't think it's a good use of his time or my time because we aren't looking to raise any money. But he actually successfully closes me. At the end of the call, he does not lock me into a time slot. He says, I'm going to copy you on an email with the scheduler or the person scheduling the meeting. And he did. He copied me on an email. He sent me about 3 emails and I haven't replied to any of them because I genuinely don't want to meet with him. Especially if you close the prospect on the cold call, lock it in, schedule the time. All right, that's pretty much it to talk about. So let's talk about a recommended cold call script that he could use. If you see here on the left side, you see a bunch of blocks. These are what we call building blocks. And when we create a sales message, it fills in stuff to say in each of these blocks. And what I've done is I've gone through our sales message creation process to create a script for an SDR setting appointments for an investment bank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this script with you and I'm going to go through these blocks. Now, it's important to point out that this script isn't designed to start at the top and work your way to the bottom time and go through each step or each block. There's actually a methodology of how to bounce around these blocks. I'm not going to explain that today. Now, if you want to learn how to bounce around these blocks and actually use this script, it's actually explained in deep detail in another video. If you go to our channel, go to the Smart Sales System playlist, Sell Smarter, Not Harder. Module 6 is on cold calling. And in that video, we explain our cold calling process, which aligns with this script, and it tells you how to work through those different steps and those different blocks. So be sure to check that out. I'll also show you what we call a quick close script, because that's what this SDR did, is he went for the quick close. And you can actually use our approach and our sales message and these blocks to also create a quick close script. So I will also show you what that looks like. All right, so let's go through the full script. And it starts with the opening of the call. Hello, Tom, this is Michael calling from Bank X. Have I caught you in the middle of anything? So confirming availability right there. And I like to open with your value proposition. As I mentioned earlier, everything you should be communicating is answering the question of what's in it for me, what's in it for the prospect to talk more, to buy what you sell. And it's your value proposition that answers that. So here is the value proposition that I created. Well, great. The reason for the call is we help software startups to raise money for expansion and accelerate growth. But I'm not sure if you want to improve those areas, and that's why I'm reaching out. The next step is to maybe ask some pain questions. Now, keep in mind, we're not closing for the product, we're closing for talking more. And if you want to make closing for talking more easier, the key thing to do is find a reason to talk. And one of the best ways to find a reason to talk is to ask some pain questions. So if I could ask you real quick, how important is it for you to find ways to drive more business growth? You might want to ask current state questions. Are you currently working with a lender or banker? Have you ever worked with an investment banker? How many business loans do you currently have? The next block is pain points, which is to share some pain points that you can help to solve. Well, you know what? A lot of startups we work with are often concerned about that it's difficult to raise money and find funding, and they're not able to fund growth initiatives. Are you concerned about any of those areas? The next block is to share some product information. Now, as I mentioned, in order to close for talking more, we want to find a reason to talk more. So we're asking questions, talking about pain points to find that. Once you find a reason to talk more, then you can skip ahead to try to close for that. And right before you go for the close, you can do what we call a pre-close, which would be to build a little bit of interest. And that's by sharing information about you in the product building block, which is to say something like, well, based on what you shared so far, it might make sense for us to talk more because, as I mentioned, I'm with Bank X and we're actually an investment banking firm, and we help to raise capital and find funding and help with all the paperwork of going public. Some ways that we're different is that we actually only work with software startups, and we have a deep network of investors that have funded some of the most successful startup companies out there. An optional step here is to progress to sharing a name drop example. I personally think this is really great to do right before you go for the close. It can build a little bit more interest. It can establish some credibility with you and your organization. It can also explain what you do and what you sell if it's not completely clear at this point. But then right before you go for the close, quick example, we actually worked with another software startup and they were having the challenge of not being able to fund their growth initiatives. We actually helped them with this by helping them to secure funding with new investors. This not only tripled their growth rate, but the founders of the company were also able to take some money off of the table and basically diversify their investments. So you're sharing a quick example there. Then you go for the close. But I tell you what, I've called you out of the blue. I'm not sure if this is the best time to talk about this. Are you available for a brief 15, 20-minute call where I can share some examples of how we've helped other startups to raise money for expansion and accelerate their growth rate? Again, that's my value proposition as I'm going for the close, which again, here I'm closing by communicating what's in it for me. Are you available on Tuesday or Thursday morning, or are you available to continue talking about this right now? So I'm closing. If the prospect wants to have an instant meeting, we can do that right there. So that's an example of the cold call script. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about how to use those same blocks to create a quick close. And it's really the same points with eliminating some of the steps and tightening up a little bit of the verbiage, but it's the same opening. Have I caught you in the middle of anything? then you're still opening with your value proposition. Reason for the call is we help software startups to raise money for expansion and accelerate their growth. And then we skip asking questions and talking about pain points, and we go to the pre-close, which is to share information about us. Now, we just shared our value proposition. So now we're going to talk about us, and we can say, and we do that by providing investment banking advisory services. We do everything from raising capital to finding funding. And what I would like to do is I'd like to schedule a brief 15 to 20 minute call where I can share some examples of how we've helped other startups to raise money for expansion and accelerate their growth rate. Are you available on Tuesday or Thursday, or are you available to talk about this now? So quick close script right there. And bear in mind, if you're not able to close right there, you could still bounce back to some of those blocks and steps that we skipped and we removed from this script. For example, if you can't close, then you could bounce back to the pain questions. So they say, no, I'm not interested. Okay, I understand. If I could ask you real quick, and then you ask one of your pain questions or one of your current state questions. So that is the quick close, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully this was helpful for you and gives you ideas of how you can improve your cold call script. If this has helped you in at least one way and you want to return the favor, very easy for you to do. Simply like, comment, share this video, subscribe to our channel. Any of those help us, and none of those cost you anything. If you like these tips, you may want to follow us on any of these social platforms. We post daily sales tips. And if you like these tips and you want more, everything I've shown you here today is part of what we call the SMART sales system. This is basically our sales methodology. SMART stands for sales messaging and response tactics. So we help salespeople to sell more by helping them to communicate better. And we do that by helping them to create very clear, attention-grabbing sales messages. And an example of that is the cold call script that I showed you here today. I actually went through our sales message creation process to create that cold call script. Now, we call it a system because it's a step-by-step system that you can actually implement. And level one of the system is the foundation, which is to create a sales message. And we provide a process for that. And like I mentioned, I used that process to create the sales script today, because once you have organized all your points into those different blocks, you can easily create a cold call script. And once you have your cold call script and emails and objection responses, then it's sort of about the how-to, and that's level 3. So how to cold call, how to get around objections. Now, if you want to learn and implement the SMART sales system, the great news is that you can do it all for free. Go to our YouTube channel, the SMART sales system playlist, Sell Smarter, Not Harder. Now, we give it away for free because all of this aligns with a product that we do sell, which is called Sales Scripter. As I mentioned, the foundation of the SMART sales system is the sales message, and there's actually an area of Sales Scripter called the Sales Message Builder, which this tool will take you through the step-by-step process. And once you have your sales message in Sales Scripter will create all those different blocks, and it'll mix and match those blocks to give you a whole library of scripts and emails and voicemails and objection responses. And you can actually see here, cold call script value intro. That's that actual cold call script that I showed you here today, and it will fill in with your sales message. Also, a little bit down from there, you'll see cold call script, quick close value, and that's actually that short quick close script. Sales Scripter also aligns with level 3, providing email automation and full CRM functionality. And if you want more help beyond that, I'm certainly available from a consulting perspective. I help customers with all 3 levels. I'll help them to create their sales message. Level 2, create their scripts and their email messages. Level 3 with execution. If you want more help, but you still don't know what to do, you may want to check out my book, The Smart Sales System, Sell Smarter, Not Harder. And you can get a copy on Amazon. The link will be in the description below. That's pretty much it. If you want more information, the best place to go is salesscripter.com. Thanks for being here, and we will see you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.